All right, so Kibra seems to be the gift that keeps on giving. Let's listen to nominated Member of Parliament Maina Kamanda, who alivuka sakafu mwendo wa aste.
Yeah.
Listen.
Me, I call him handshake candidate, and there are so many other members of Parliament who want to come and support him, just for one reason, that we have enjoyed peace in this country.
Okay, so where do we begin?
Me, I call him. That him is talking about is actually the ODM candidate,
right,
not the Jubilee candidate.
Right.
I mean, Maina Kamanda is actually...
And just for avoidance of doubt,
we have the
Kamanda
images.
Is a Jubilee Member of Parliament.
Nominated, not elected.
Imran Okoth is a candidate for ODM.
And ODM and Jubilee are not the same party.
And
yeah,
just for avoidance of doubt. And they even had a handshake.
Yeah.
This thing is infectious, isn't it now?
But you see, I think this is a height, in my view, of political hypocrisy in our country. It makes nonsense, quite frankly, of this thing that we call multi-partyism. That we have people and political parties, we have political parties that mean nothing to people. Because just yesterday, the president was there talking about, he gave Mariga the jezi la rangi nyekundu, akamvisha kofia. That is to say that this is the Jubilee candidate for Kibra.
Right.
And then today, Maina Kamanda, that is nominated by Jubilee, not elected, and that is important.
But to be fair, he did say that he's there in his personal capacity.
But he also belongs to the party personally.
And then continue to tell us there were other members.
Because the party actually is the one that nominated him. There's nothing else. The party can basically just recall him if they want, even tomorrow. And so for him to come out and say he now supports an ODM candidate at a time when his own party has a candidate in that election, I think it really is baffling to me, and it speaks volumes about the political hygiene in our country.
Hygiene is one.
Joe,
well, wow. There's also legal issues.
I think it's very dangerous to look at politics at face value. I think politicians are the only people who are allowed to say something during the day and say the complete opposite of what they say
allowed.
Yes, allowed.
Or expected. Or expected.
Or expected, rather. To say something totally different from what they say during the day at night. And by the way, both situations seem to work perfectly well for them. Look, how did Maina Kamanda end at Upper Hill today, Honorable Raila Odinga's office today? In fact, I would dare say he was not alone. He was accompanied by some other Jubilee Party officials, and the record will bail me out on this. That's a story for another day.
Hey.
One very senior official of Jubilee Party was in that office.
There was a 2-hour closed-door meeting before this.
Was in that meeting.
Are you saying these images are not complete?
Yeah, was in that meeting.
They have been doctored.
Even the situation that you saw with Mariga, a lot of it was also coming from Jubilee Party headquarters. Revelations about his registration details, questions about his identity card. A lot of that stuff came from the Jubilee Party headquarters.
Okay, but listen.
That's plain.
So there's hygiene, there's hypocrisy, but there's also the law.
There's also the law.
For us, Francis.
You see, the Political Parties Act, Section 14, subsection 4(5). It says, let's start at 4. A person shall not be a member of more than one political party at the same time. Then 5 says, a person who, while being a member of a political party, says many other things, includes forming another political party, joining in the formation of another political party. What we need to work with here is E, promotes the ideology, interests, or policies of another political party. So remember, Maina Kamanda is a nominated member of parliament. So he has no constituency per se. He's a property of the political party that nominated him to parliament. So his
allegiance is first and foremost to the party?
I would question his courage in walking to support a candidate of a rival political party, yet his own party has a candidate in the same race.
Okay.
So I would have expected that the Jubilee Party tomorrow, the Secretary General or any top official will write to him a show cause letter, because he has outrightly promoted the interests of another political party. In this case, the fielding of a rival candidate. But will it happen? Never.
Especially considering that the Jubilee candidate has had serious hiccups at the start, and right now he needs all the catching up he can get. He needs all the support he can get from the party. And here you have a leading member of the party, I dare say, in Nairobi, because Maina Kamanda, for whatever else you might say about him, he is an old hand in Nairobi politics. He has been a member of parliament here before, and therefore, if there is anyone that whose support Mariga needs at this time as a Jubilee candidate, then that would be Maina Kamanda.
An old veteran in Nairobi politics. Linus?
Yvonne, it will save us some time as a group not to read any of the laws, the act or the constitution, because with our politics it doesn't matter. Typically, this is how midterm politics play out in this country. Parties only matter up to the swearing in time. In fact, you look at our history, it's not been an issue since President Moi left office that a president belongs to more than one party. In 2007, President Mwai Kibaki was partyless as at October 2007, just before the election. Because he was elected in NAC and he was going into a re-election with nobody knows what party, and that's how PNU came up. I look at President Uhuru Kenyatta and I don't see, this strong commitment to Jubilee. Jubilee has served the purpose for him. He's already serving his second term. But I want to say something very brief about Maina Kamanda. He's a nominated member of parliament, but there's something important about nominated members of parliament. Normally, they would be serving certain interests. When President Moi was in office, we had a nominated member of parliament. He's never been elected in any race, and that was Mark Too. And Mark Too was a special purpose member of parliament. He would be out here doing some of these things that Maina Kamanda is now doing. Mr. Fix-It, they called him. He was called Mr. Fix-It. So when you see him in a fundraiser somewhere in Muranga, or when you see him in some function in the Rift Valley, he's doing the bidding of the president. Could this be said of Maina Kamanda? I don't think he'd have the courage to do what he's doing if he doesn't have the nod of State House. So, to the voters of Kibra, what should they make of all these suckers? I think for the voters, they'll have to make their minds about the candidates and wait for the election date, because there'll be a lot of games between now and the time Kibera votes. So this is not the last of it. We've seen very interesting events today and interesting events yesterday, CAPS and all that. This is just the start. I think Kibra will be treated to a lot of spectacles before the voting.
Speaking of multipartism, Joe mentioned it, and it reminds me of the struggle for multipartism. Paka skule moya kasema sawa nimereveal ilio section 2A of the constitution so that we could have multipartism, and it was fought for, and there are people who really went and got us the multipartism that we wanted. But now comes the issue of, I always say there's a fickleness of our political parties, and Linus alluded to it, how they're just vehicles for elections, where we form them a year or two to the election in Asia. But I always say this, the oldest party, one of the oldest parties in the world, is actually the Conservative Party in the UK that was formed in 1834, and the Democratic Party in the US that was formed in 1828, and they're still in existence and they have deep roots. I don't think it will be easy for members of such parties to ditch them and have another one. I'm sure they'll do everything and anything in their power to make sure that the party remains strong. When was the last time the Jubilee even had a PG, a parliamentary group meeting? It was in October 2017, before the second round of the presidential. Alluded to that here. Do we have that? He spoke. I don't think we have that. Right. But it is one of the things that really worries me about Jubilee as a party, because if you don't have a parliamentary group meeting, the last one you had was in 2017, and that was right before the second round of the presidential elections. After the first one, the Supreme Court ilifutilia mbali. There's something Ashui always says, and I remember it a lot. He says it on radio, that when there's a problem in the family, you call all your children together. Na unaambia uliba sukari, kwani ulimwaga maziwa, kwani ulifanya hii, and you discuss it as a family and naishia hapo. You don't go outside the house and start saying, well, uliba maziwa, well, ulifanya hivi, and you shout. Even your neighbors who have nothing to do with your issues in your house, wanasikia. So I think that is one of the issues that is facing Jubilee.
Okay, so here's a couple of issues I think that are coming up in Kibra. So there's this, whatever it is, NASA is itself fielding separate candidates. you have people jumping from one, into a political party.
In existence?
I once said here it was dead, and everybody gave me a look.
9th.
So let's see. March 9th was the
official one.
The space agency still exists.
It was actually earlier. Actually, the date of death was earlier.
Okay, and
January 30th.
And I think the venue was Nigeria. So
because of the line.
Yeah, but meanwhile,
Okay, so
someone says on Twitter, News Gang, it's clear that with the handshake, this is a global youth KE, says with the handshake, even Raila Odinga is supporting Uhuru Kenyatta, so tit for tat.
Yes, so and that is where I was going. So there's all of these things that are happening in Kibra, just as a melting pot. And then there's also IEBC's decision last week. And Joe, you've been talking about what that portends.
No, I think the IEBC decision is in some respects water under the bridge, but I think what it raises, the sort of legal thing that I've heard some people talk about, is that in future there might be a discussion as to whether there is a real sense in having a law that says that once the vacancy has been declared, and the register in Kibra itself is closed, but that someone can register elsewhere and come and vie here. In other words, it means that people can register to go and vie, but people cannot register to vote in Kibra, because next time maybe someone will say, okay, I'm registered in the Rieda constituency where I come from, I want to go and vote in Kibra. Why would you deny me the chance to vote if you can give someone the chance to go and contest, even though that deadline is passed? I think it's something that requires a conversation, whether the spirit of the law really was that, or whether there was a lacuna that perhaps maybe in future we need to deal with.
Teacher, me.
Yes, Francis.
You see, one, you have to give it to the legal team that represented Mariga at the IEBC Disputes Resolution.
We actually have this soundbite.
Elisha Ongoya and his team.
Yeah.
You see, what they took very keen advantage of and yielded fruits for them was, at what point are you considered a registered voter, and whose responsibility is it to ensure that you are a registered voter? Or once you present yourself for registration as a voter, whose responsibility is it to actualize that registration? It is IEBC. So it was their responsibility to ensure that Mariga's name was in the KIMS kit. I mean in the voter identification device. So if they said he was going to be disqualified because he wasn't, then the question would have been, whose responsibility was it to put his name
in that register? So
it would have been an own goal for IEBC to rule otherwise. And when you look at it, it was a very careful decision for the IEBC team, because if they made a decision in the negative, it would have
been a self-indictment.
Yeah, it would have been a self-indictment.
And here's another indictment.